Welcome to the Tracy Money Audio Commentary. This is Owen Tracy recording. It's 3:30 p.m. That is Central Time. Today is April 4th, today being Friday. It's the big picture, long-term audio and video for the various different asset classes. And I thought we'd kick off with Vietnam. It's potentially an object lesson. So we had a sharp decline yesterday and an even sharper decline initially today, but then it paired its decline. And that was directly in response to a statement made by President Trump that he had had positive discussions with the leader of Vietnam, and the prospect of Vietnam reducing all of the tariffs it imposes on the USA to zero was raised, and also that Vietnam would begin to buy more from the USA in return for the USA removing the tariff, which is among the highest of all countries that had been imposed upon it. So the market rebounded from the region of that 1,000-day moving average. Now, we're far from at the end of this correction for most assets. And this correction has been engineered. There's no question that the stock market reaction was predictable relative to what was planned, and the Trump administration appear to have been prepared for what would happen. So we've had one of the largest declines in the stock market this week since 2020. And of course, prior to 2020, you have to go back to 2008 for an example. This is not quite the same thing because it has been engineered by politicians. And the longer it goes on for, the more real-world effects it's going to have. But one thing that we can certainly say is that the reliance on the USA as a reliable trading partner and as a country that is willing to stand by its word and to abide by the conditions of a contract or a treaty has been heavily damaged by these measures. And that is something that is not simply going to be repaired overnight. So something that I was writing about last week and something that I think is particularly important is that we need to look at countries and how they really start to display standards of governance. In order to be a reliable place to invest money, you need to have improving standards of governance. And I think we can look at what's happening in the USA and say, well, maybe from one perspective, this is the beginning of an improvement in standards of governance. But in order to get there, there's going to have to be significant pain. On the other, it could be the beginning of a trend towards much worse standards of governance, and that the potential is that this is only the beginning. And how one comes down on that argument is probably going to be heavily influenced by how one's political opinions reside. But we are obviously faced with some significant challenges in the global environment. There is also the additional point that we've had this incredible financialization of the global economy over the last 40 years, which occurred in tandem with globalization. And then the financial response to the global financial crisis, which was to massively increase the volume of cash and then to leave it in the system for a prolonged period, it really, and this was well understood at the time, it robbed savers at the expense of speculators. And then, of course, we've had this huge run-up in asset prices. Wages did not keep pace. The quality of jobs has deteriorated in tandem with globalization. And the net result is that prices have been up, wages have been stagnant, and the quality of jobs that are available has decreased. So the net effect of that is that the living standard of your average person has decreased over time. And that has shown up in the elections in several countries, and now it's intensifying under the Trump administration. So it's going to have long-term consequences.